She's sugary, she's spice. She is everything plus nice. Take her one-on-one class and she provides the best advice. She'll take you down to the trenches, but only to lead a new way. Only for the sake of you and your legacy to establish a new day. Let's give a warm welcome to the Chief Reprimander and the Supreme Hugger, Chi Smith.
Hello, guys. Hello. Welcome to the InEarthgie Show. I am your lovely host, Chi Smith here, CEO of InEarthgie. What is InEarthgie, you may ask? InEarthgie is an organization that provides therapeutic solutions and services. Yeah, we don't like to call them products here because, right, products sound like a standalone, a one-stop shop, right? We call them solutions because these are really solutions to cater to your everyday, every week, every month, every yearly needs, along with the services. What better way than to go to one organization and get solutions and services all in one? So guys, thank you again so much for joining the InEarthgie Show. You know what? It is Tuesday night. We love to have fun while learning. Grab your babies, tell your auntie, your cousin, your brother, your sister, your neighbor. I don't care where they are. They could be in Australia. They could be in Dubai. They could be in Nicaragua. They could be in Nigeria. I don't care. Let them know that Chi Smith is on every Tuesday night, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. Now, guys, you know that we are on this wonderful HBCU campaign. And so we really appreciate you tuning in every Tuesday and or every other Tuesday as we have a special guest to really shine the light on the HBCU experience. That's right. You know what? Many of you may be HBCU alums. Kudos to you. Hats off. But there are a lot of us that are seeking secondary education and we are not aware of the full-on HBCU experience. So that's exactly what we want to bring to the platform every week is the experience, the value of the HBCUs. Let real people tell you about real things, right? Let the real testimonies be able to maybe bring some education to you, bring some knowledge to you. Maybe you got a child yourself that's coming up and they need to understand what the HBCU community is all about. Maybe you got a nephew, maybe you have a little cousin, maybe you have someone in the community that you've been mentoring and you need them to understand what the HBCU community and or experience is all about. Well, that is what we are here to do, is to bring you information. You guys know here at the InEarthgie Show, we don't just get information for us, we get information for other people. Why? Because once we get it for us, then we have to give it to others and do what? Allow it to go to others. It's a domino effect. You guys know that's our stance every single week. Every single week. We love bringing clarity, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to you guys. And we are not to be selfish with the information that we receive. Okay. So guys, we have a wonderful guest on tonight. I am thoroughly excited for this person to be here. And let me tell you something. They didn't go to just one HBCU. They went to two. Okay. They didn't just stop at one degree at a HBCU. They went to another one. Okay. So guys, thank you so much. Great day to you, Queen. Great day. Guys, share and like this. We are streaming on 3 different platforms. We are streaming on Facebook page, BBC TV. Weekly, we are streaming on YouTube channel, InEarthgie TV, weekly. We are also tuning in and streaming live on Chi Smith personal page. So guys, thank you so much again for being here. Blessings to you. We really pray that you have been having a fantastic week. And let me say this. We are still doing this bundle, okay? We are still doing this wonderful bundle. You guys know that we've been talking about transformation and being human. What does that mean? Many times, you know, people don't give us a space to transform, okay? And or evolve. Listen, we're human. Everybody has their own journey. Everyone has their own pace as they are evolving, as they are transforming. But one thing is for sure, sometimes people don't allow us to be human. Sometimes people don't allow us to be emotional throughout the process. Sometimes people don't allow us to have our own sacred space as we are going through the process. But this book here gives you many different perspectives from 8 wonderful authors out of 3 countries. That's right, 3 countries. That is the US of A, Australia, and India. Yes, 3 different countries, a collaboration, a co-author project called Transformation and Being Human. So guys, when you go onto InEarthgie.com, you want to grab this book, okay? And when you grab this book, you don't even have to put in a special code, because your wonderful gratitude journal, Life in Words, is going to come right along with it. Now, this is why we're doing the bundle. The reason why we're doing the bundle, guys, and look, it's not too late to even get this for Christmas gifts, right? Or holiday gifts. Or look, Kwanzaa is coming up. Okay, let's be clear about Kwanzaa celebration. Yes, December 26th. Let's be clear, right? And so you know someone who is starting their journey. You know someone that is evolving. You know someone that is transforming, and they may be struggling in their process. And so what you want to do is you want to get them this book so that they can know it's okay to transform and be human. But as they are reading this book, there's going to be several nuggets that's going to come along the way. There's going to be several downloads. There's going to be some aha moments. So what you want to do is ensure that they have this journal, right? And there's nothing wrong with grabbing a notebook, okay, or a legal pad, but you want them to have something that's personal for them, right? So as they are getting the downloads, as they are getting the nuggets, they can write them down. And then the great thing about it, right, is that there is a place in here called digging deeper. Y'all see that? Digging deeper. What does that mean? That means whatever the nugget was, whatever the aha moment was, whatever that epiphany was as you were reading this wonderful book, you have an opportunity to dig deeper so that you can speak to yourself and say, when I read this at this moment on this day, this is what this meant for me. This is your own personal journey. This is this person's own personal journey. So guys, don't forget, grab your book, Transformation and Being Human. You don't even have to put in a special code. The wonderful gratitude journal will come right along with the book, okay? Grab it. Look, if you are local in the Texas, the DFW area, you might can get it tomorrow, okay? Let's just be clear, because that is how fast we are shipping out these publications. So guys, if you just tuned in, welcome to the InEarthgie Show. I'm your host, Chi Smith. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. Now, what I am getting ready to do is introduce you to this wonderful, wonderful, beautiful queen. Why? Because when I read her bio, I noticed that she did not only just attend one HBCU, but she attended two HBCUs. And I knew I had to have her on because going from one HBCU to another, there may be some differences. There may be some cultural differences. There may be some experiences that we might need to know about. Because listen, all schools aren't the same. Now, and or are they? I don't know. That is why we have her here to share that with us. So guys, without further ado, thank you so much. Help me welcome Miss Catiana Foster. Hi, Miss Foster. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence on today. Now, listen, say your name correctly for the people, because listen, names are important. We want to make sure we are saying this. And so if you guys are addressing Miss Foster, you need to make sure you are addressing her appropriately with the correct pronunciation of her name. What is it? What is it?
It's Catiana.
Catiana, I love that. That is very much so beautiful for a beautiful queen. Guys, if you just tuned in, welcome to the InEarthgie Show. I'm your host, Chi Smith. We have Miss Catiana Foster here representing for the HBCU campaign here with the InEarthgie Show. Thank you so much. So listen, Miss Foster, honey, you did not attend just one HBCU. You went to two.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, she went to two, y'all. Listen, she was like, not only am I chasing this education, but I'm going to be intentional about where I am chasing these degrees, this knowledge, this wisdom. Okay, so help us understand. Give us a little bit of background as to who you are, where you're a native from, and then what made you attend an HBCU?
I'm originally from Marietta, Georgia. I am a first generation college student on both sides of my family. College was not I won't say it wasn't an option. It was, I just woke up one day and I told my mom, I want to go to college. And she said, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Well, where do you want to go? And from there, I've kind of had to like figure out what major, what would be the best option for me, where did I want to go. So keeping up with family ties, because I am really big on my family. I am an only child, to both of my parents. I do have older brothers and sisters, but to my mom, I'm her only child. So I wanted to stick close to home. So we were going to like Kent State, Macon State. I also thought about maybe possibly going to a military school in Georgia, until one of my aunts pulled me to the side and said, why don't you go to Albany State? And I automatically thought Albany, New York. And I said, sure, that's fine. I'll be like hours away from my parents. I can experience college. I can be on my own. I can be happy. I can enjoy myself. She said, no, baby, Albany, Georgia. So my first time visiting the campus, it was, first of all, it's 3.5 hours to get there. We got lost. We ended up at the military base. The guard at the military base didn't even know where the school was. Keep in mind, Albany is a very country town. If anyone has ever been to Cairo, it's and probably 45, maybe 30 minutes from Cairo. But it's still considered a country bumpkin town, um, unfortunately. So when we finally got to the campus, I looked around and I'm just like, this is it. This is somebody from the city going to a very small, what I consider a very small campus. I'm like, this is it. This is all you guys have to offer. This can't be it. But of course, my mom said, think about it on the bigger side. You're away from the city. You get to explore. You get to identify yourself. You get to learn who you are. So even during the time of just researching schools and visiting schools, I still didn't know what a HBCU was until I took Albany State 101, and that is the freshman's class. So we had to learn the history of the school, the alma mater, of course, the motto, the importance of the school as a whole for the community, but also what HBCUs represent. So for me, just learning, being in that class, it piqued my interest first with my major. I majored in history, African American studies. So I have a BA, African American studies. And then I have a master's in applied social science, with the curriculum being, again, African American studies. So with that in mind, just being in that class, for one, it kind of honed in on my interest of history. And it opened up my eyes to uh, my field. So preserving history, actually doing the research, understanding why history is the way it is, understanding the different cultures with dealing with history. So I I got the aspect of education field, but then being at an HBCU taught me that it's okay to be comfortable around your own people.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is we all come from different aspects of life. For us, like I said, the city, international. We had people coming from Chicago, from all the way up to Brooklyn, New York. I was friends with a girl for a few years from California. So we're all coming from big cities to this one little town, is bringing in different cultures. It's pertaining to mostly African Americans, which was very different because, again, I'm from the South. Hearing a Northerner speak and like, yeah, yo, being open in the culture and the clothes, I'm like, we don't do that here. Calm down. We don't do that here. But I had to learn to adapt, and I was able to gain friends, but also like feel comfortable.
I like that. Okay. Oh my gosh. Guys, if you just tuned in, welcome to the Inner Chi Show. I am your host, Chi Smith. We have Miss Catiana Foster here, baby. Listen, she is giving us the rundown regarding her HBCU experience with Albany State University, which is located in Georgia, not in New York. Let's be clear. So, but listen, you've said some very key points that I think that is very important. So one of them in particular is you shared that you were the first generation graduate from college. And so that is important. And the fact that we're still saying that, I often wonder, why are we kind of still in a space to where we're still saying first generation graduate for secondary education, that is? Can you speak to that a little bit? Do you, you are a history major, so can you kind of share some light on that as to why we may still be having that type of conversation around the dinner table?
I feel as though we've lost that influence with education, and what I mean by that is we had major leaders within our community that was showing kids or students, you don't always have to settle with a high school diploma. You can go as far as your mind will take you, or as far as you want to take yourself. And because we've lost those influences, a lot of times the family is just like, you've done enough. High school was enough, or getting to the 8th grade was enough, and it should never be enough. So with the millennial coming up, I am a part of the millennial generation. So we have that whole, well, we're not settling for less. We're going to go more than what our grandparents have doing, our great grandparents are doing. We're not sticking to the farms. We're not sticking to the rural areas. We want to build a legacy, or continue the legacy, or we want to make more of ourselves, or we want to build these communities so we can show kids who parents, may have had to stop at the 8th grade, or may have had to stop at just a high school diploma, that you can achieve more. So it's like putting back that influence back into the community that may have just died out a little bit, sparking it.
Gotcha. No, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that, I love it. I mean, that's awesome. So, with you mentioning that, and you're saying your exposure to even HBCU, the influence came from an aunt. Now, was
Yes.
your aunt a legacy HBCU alum?
She was not. She's not a mutual aunt, but she is. I grew up with her, love her to death. She I believe she saw me just trying to pick a school and stay closest home, and she wanted me to go out and branch and be out on my own. And then she wanted me to be in a space where I am around individuals who have the same mindset as me, but have that comfortability, but also experience other cultures or influences, mindsets, understand that, yeah, I might be partnering with the future judge, Supreme Court judge, or the next neurosurgeon, which one of my friends is. I'm so proud of her. She's becoming a doctor, or she is a doctor. She's a neurosurgeon, and I just remember waking up and going to the calf with her. Or the next CEO. A few of my friends have started their own business. So it's just understanding that y'all are all going through this struggle together, and keep up the influence with each other, like keep uplifting each other. So but my second influence with FAMU actually came from one of my professors who's still my mentor. I remember going into his class a few weeks before graduation and him asking me, well, what are you going to do next? Oh, I think I'm just going to go to Georgia State. He said, no, you're not. What we're going to do is we're going to get in this car. He had a bus. I think he still has the bus. And we're going to go down to FAMU. And the way he said it always resonates me. We're going to go visit the 7 of the highest hills in Tallahassee, Florida. And I said, okay. And he said, I need you to say it when you get there, so you understand exactly. You will be attending this school. Went there. I spoke with a few of the professors, and they were very informative. Yeah, we can get you this scholarship. Yes, you're going to take this class. Yes, you're going to need this book for my class. Like, they were already expecting me to be enrolled in the fall, and I'm just like, can I graduate first? And they're like, well, you already met that deadline. You will be here in the fall. So And they still influence me to this day. Every time I do an exhibit, every time I do work, I say, how would my professor view this? Would they expect more from me? How could this influence the next generation? Did I do this right? Would they be proud of me? So things like that.
So what I hear you saying is, when you have an, HBCU experience, it's not just going to a university or another college. It sounds as though even down to the instructors are very intentional about the next level for each student. For your instructor to literally and deliberately drive you to another state and introduce you to a whole nother campus for the next level of your education, that is because you went to Florida A&M University for your master's degree. Yes. So how did that influence you or inspire you as an individual to see that your experience at Albany State, but then to have a mentor as such, to be that intentional about your next level education and ensuring that it too came from an HBCU? Share with our audience about how that inspired you and or encouraged you, just even from a personal development perspective.
It made me want to give back to my community more than anything, because like I said, I came from first generation college student. Both my parents did graduate high school, but there were not a lot of individuals I knew, even from with me graduating, who decided to go to college or decided to go to a college instead of just going to the military. So it was a conscious effort to see, okay, I got a bachelor's. I can get a master's. I know I can get a master's. Do I really want to go to FAMU? I need to go to FAMU. One, because of the simple fact I've already continued this track of going from HBCU and might as well continue going to a HBCU. Yes, there were cases where I thought about going to a PWI, and I attended a seminar, and it was called the Black Elite. So same professor, and he invited a few of his friends, also professors from Albany State, to basically just talk with us. So it was, I think she was the director for ESPN and over Disney, one of the corporate heads, a neurosurgeon, a professor from Albany State, a professor from FSU, that went to FAMU. And they were talking about the difference between continuing education with a HBCU and then going to a PWI. And they said they noticed like the subtle differences of being on track. And what I mean by being on track is HBCUs are a lot harder on their students. Why? Because they're gearing us for the real world. They know that we're not going to be given anything on a silver platter. I'm not saying that PWIs don't have the same experience. But one example, one of the lecturers gave me that stuck with me was he attended a HBCU and then he went to a PWI. He had to find funding for one of his projects, and it sometimes required him to go out and purchase stuff of his own. So when he did that and he was bringing items into the classroom, the students were saying, "Why are you doing that? We have extra funding for that." He said, "I'm just used to it. If I want something, I got to go get it. I'm used to it." And that just always stuck in my head, is like, somebody gives 5%, I gotta give 10. Or not even 10, I just gotta give 20. I have to give my all. So that's one thing I picked up from HBCUs, because eventually, like same thing like how they did, I did eventually go get my second master's at a PWI. And honestly, I was just like, this is a whole lot different, and I don't like it, but I'm going to get through it.
Sure. Oh man. Okay, so that's really good. Thank you so much, Miss Foster. Guys, if you just tuned in, thank you for tuning into the Inner Chi Show. I'm your host, Chi Smith. We have Miss Catiana Foster here, who have graduated from 2 HBCUs, from Albany State University, as well as Florida A&M University, with her master's. And so I want to kind of go back, if you don't mind, to Albany State and you getting your bachelor's in African American Studies and History. And so it's amazing because our first guest, we had the same conversation, and I believe there he minored. His major was in education, and then his minor was in African American studies, and so is mine. So my minor is in African American studies, and so what I have often found out was that it is amazing that we major in us.
Mm-hmm.
That we major in us. And so help me understand. Now, I majored in us, not at an HBCU. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'd like for you to share with the audience, what is it like not only being in an HBCU from a cultural, academic, personal development perspective, but when you chose to do African American studies and make that your focus for the remainder of your bachelor's degree, what was that experience like getting that type of degree at an HBCU? How was it intense? Was it, no days off, there is no exceptions. You got to know this because this is your culture, your background.
It was expected for you to know that this is your culture. You may not get it right the first time because we're not taught everything in high school as we should be, and understand you will have those that will disagree with you. Case in point, my last class, me and my same mentor, we will bump heads. I love and support W.E. Du Bois. He supports Booker T. Washington. I never forget, we had a whole hour debate between the two. And he did kind of get a little upset because I called Booker T. Uncle Tom. I do apologize. But it was understanding that I'm not perfect. I will make mistakes. History has made mistakes. It's my job to correct them. This is what I went to school for. This is my field. It's my job to educate others more than what's in the textbook, more than what you see on TV, more than what you might see in a documentary. So kind of like be a debunker, but at the same time, be a researcher. So if I have plenty of times where I have people come and ask me questions of why is this in this, but this is not in the textbook. And my answer is always the same. Look who wrote the book. Mm-hmm. Look who wrote the book and look who's teaching us.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. That's good. Look who wrote the book and then look who's teaching us. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you, wow. Okay. So would you say that experience and receiving that degree is what helped you land where you are today professionally? So I understand your current career is you are the exhibit and program coordinator.
Yes.
For a museum today.
Yes.
And the next step is to be a director for the Smithsonian Institute, right? Out of DC.
We will get there one day.
So help the audience understand what made you want to go through the path for a museum perspective in order to bring education about the culture.
So fresh out of college we have to during my undergrad, so at Albany State, we have to have certain hours for internship. It's not required until we become seniors, but I'm a curious child. Let's just go ahead junior year and do internship. So I'm working and I'm doing internship, going back and forth. What influenced me was, so this may be no one's ideal job. My first internship was cataloging. Um, they put me in this room. It was very cold, and said, "Kat, I need you to catalog all of these cast iron film canisters." And then somebody came behind that, and they dropped off the actual film machines. So think of early 1910s. These things weigh ton. So I have to catalog at least 5 of them. So I'm lifting them on the table, cleaning them out, making sure there's no film in them, making sure there's no rust or anything. And I'm in this room by myself, just completely alone by myself. And I got the idea one day that maybe I should go beyond just cataloging and actually doing research on what I'm cataloging.
Hmm.
What was the film used for? What was so important about the film? How will it affect a student coming to the museum? Well, it was a planetarium. How will it affect the student coming to the planetarium to learn about the information? And then I realized that the area I was in, for one, I appreciate them giving me the internship, but I was at the wrong museum. I should have been at the Civil Rights Museum that was in town, because I felt as though they had all this funding from the state, and they had all this funding locally, and they had all these donors and information, and they were encouraging students to come to the museum, but I wasn't getting a lot of that from the Civil Rights Museum that was right down the road. The one chance that I did get to attend the museum was for a class. And this is after we've seen, I don't know if you're familiar with the film The Birth of the Nation, not the one with Nat Turner, but the first one.
This one. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So it was the class was to show our interpretation of how film can affect public influence or imagery, or basically how do we interpret it. So we watched the film, we watched both Birth of the Nations, and then we went to the Civil Rights Museum. And I was looking at the information and everything like that, and I finally stepped to the side and I spoke to the director, and I asked, well, why aren't you guys networking with the students? Or what kind of funding do you need, or what else is needed? And she said, well, we're only taking volunteers, and we really don't receive a lot of funding. We're nonprofit. And I was like, that's really interesting. Can you explain more on what a nonprofit is? Nonprofit is generally anybody receive donations. They do grants of that nature. Every now and then they do get a grants from the state and local government. And that's okay. That's interesting. And she was explaining the different upkeep and everything that has to do with the museum. So that broadened my interest in museum. But then I said, well, I'm studying African American history. I need to focus mainly on African American research if I'm going to do that. It's okay to veer off into other topics, but we really don't focus on our own. And that made me, when I finally did get to FAMU, I did 2 interns. I was working with the Black Archives, the Meek Eton Black Archives on FAMU's campus. And I was also interning for the Knott House Museum, which is the Museum of Florida History, but I was also working there. And I've kind of noticed the subtle differences as well between the one in Albany and the Civil Rights Museum in Albany, and the Meek Eton Archives. They were more they had more funding to do a lot of research, exhibits, things of that nature, because it was more well known versus the Civil Rights Museum in Albany. And it's okay. Well, let me stick with nonprofit African American museums, because I feel like I'm giving more my time and my efforts to better reach out to the community and also show the influence and why these museums are important. Why should we uplift them? Why we need to preserve them as much as possible? What can we gain from them? What can we learn from them? How can we reach out and help them as well?
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Guys, if you just tuned in, welcome to the Energy Show. I am your host, Chi Smith. We have Miss Catiana Foster here, who is a two-time HBCU grad from Albany State University out of Georgia, as well as Florida A&M University. Yes, with a wonderful master's degree. And so right now we are speaking about Miss Foster's experience regarding museums out of both the state of Georgia as well as the state of Florida, and understanding that some of the museums are indeed nonprofits, where they may receive funding, they may not, how they may have to advocate through different fundraising and donations in order to keep the doors open. And so she just shared with us, if you're just not tuning in, how the museums, definitely African American museums, are absolutely important in our communities, and how we need to preserve them, and how we need to continue to bring them to the forefront regarding everyone's educational needs. So it doesn't matter if you are a child, if you're a family, if you're an older person, or seasoned, as you know, we like to say these days. You better not say nobody is old, right? You better say seasoned. And so, with that being said, I love the two things that you mentioned. Number one, funding is so important. And I often wonder, to your point, as it relates to African American history, why isn't there more funding than needed, and or more opportunities for funding to keep the doors open, and or to bring forth the research, if you will, the education, the knowledge to whatever local community or the state in which it is residing. That is something that we absolutely should always be discussing as it relates to funding. And then number two, I'd like to ask you, from your perspective, do you think it is because of lack of funding that the museums aren't able to do as much in the communities?
I feel as though it's not necessarily the funding. I feel as though sometimes it's always the support. Museums need that extra support from the community. But at the same time, you have to be willing to reach out to your museum, to speak upon their causes. What are you trying to do for its research, development? What are you bringing to the community? There is funding out there, and I realize that you just have to look for it. Case in point, the museum I work for has a network for African American museums in the state of Florida, and we are very supportive with the museum. If you need anything, we send out weekly newsletters to let you know the state is having this funding. Please apply for it. Make sure if you need ideas, please reach out to other museums. I wish other states could incorporate that idea because it is very helpful. We recently just had our conference a few weeks ago. I've never seen so much Black excellency in a hotel as much as I did. And then afterwards, when we had the fish fry with the information, I was able to network. I was working, but at the same time, I was able to network, and I was so excited just being out there to network and talk to people, and just get phone numbers. And if you need anything, I got you. If you need anything, I have you as well. Let's talk over tea, or how long are you going to be in town? So maybe we can give out fresh ideas. There's also a museum conference that is hosted every year for African American museums. I think it's called AAAM. African American Association of Museums. I may be wrong, but I know it's AAAM. And I had an opportunity before COVID to attend one of them. It was in Mississippi. And again, just being in that room, listening to the different panels of funding, of networking, bringing exhibits. What do you need to do for props and tools? Having a Q&R session afterwards. Going to visit the college, looking at different museums and how they function within Mississippi. I absolutely can honestly say I love my job and I appreciate all the networking opportunities they allow me to have and branch out, because I feel as though they are investing in me, so I can give back to the museum. So so far it's been a wonderful ride, and I'm just living it up.
I mean, sounds like it. And I am, listen, you are exuding energy even through this interview right now. And I really hope that our viewers are feeling the same energy, because it is such an energy of pride, and, to your point, excellency that comes from these various opportunities and the exposure that you've had. And so, I have to ask, my goodness, I often wonder, those who have not had the pleasure of attending an HBCU, and utilize that experience to their fullest potential to carry them throughout their career path, would would you be able to say these things and feel the way that you feel today had you not gone the HBCU route?
That is a good question, and I've never pondered that, to be honest, because I've always attended an HBCU. I felt comfortable attending an HBCU. I felt accepted. I still feel accepted, even after I graduated from FAMU. Um, the networking, the family that was built, because I understand it's networking, but I built a family. I built a legacy, or I'm still building a legacy and a name for myself to continue on. So honestly, I can't answer that question. I can't.
No, and I appreciate your honesty with that, Miss Foster. And so I asked you that, and that wasn't a trick question, but I absolutely wanted to, and ask you that live here, because oftentimes, even in our community, we say we don't have family, we say we don't have a network, we say we don't know who to lean on, to call, where to go, and it just seems as though those individuals, who either, one, have attended an HBCU and had that experience and carried that on, two, come from a legacy family of HBCU graduates, or three, maybe you just talked enough about your own people in your own home, that, look, Black excellence, it follows you everywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
And so you subconsciously create that type of environment, whether you are amongst your own or not. And so when I hear you say that, your experience and the pathway that you've taken, that you feel accepted no matter where you go, that you have such a networking system, that you have created even family, right? So it's not just a girl, call me whenever, literally people who say call me, they mean call me, and that you can call
Mm-hmm.
on them and that they will produce.
Mm-hmm.
I often wonder, even for our audience, if we would really understand the power that we have when we come together, when we
Mm-hmm.
support each other, when we market each other, and or want to be in the presence of our own, how much power that is. And it sounds as though, going back to your Albany days, and you mentioned the people from New York and California and Illinois, and even though they came from different backgrounds, you had something in common. And each and every one of you came there for that HBCU experience. So, talk to our audience about, no matter what four corners of this country that you come from, you can land at the same place at the same time, having the same goal, and flourish from there.
I still have friends to this day that I talk to. One of my girlfriends, unfortunately, we started off together, but she had to leave, and I still talk to her to this day. Matter of fact, she's probably going to call me in the morning, like we always do.
Hopefully,
I
she's
just
watching. Hey, girl.
I have a soror actually just called me to check in because we both work for the city in some aspect. We had lunch today. We check in each other with every day. I went to FAMU with her. I have another girlfriend I just seen 2 weeks ago. We went to FAMU together. So it's to me, it's we all started from, like you said, different backgrounds, but we all had the same mind frame of getting an education, networking, creating memories, creating lifetime, but also understanding that if you need something, I can help you to the best to the best of my ability, and vice versa. And you meet any and everybody as you're going through your journey, especially with an HBCU. Especially, I just realized I joined Zeta Phi Beta sorority in 2017. One of my sorority sisters was getting her PhD, and she encouraged me. Keep in mind, she was going to FAMU and was getting her PhD, and she's a grandma, and she encouraged me to get mine. I'm in the process right now of going to FAMU and getting my PhD. So it's always that influence, that networking, those relationships you build, that family you gain is always going to follow you no matter what.
Mm. I love that. I love that. I love that. Looks like we've got a proud grad. Okay, North Carolina A&T State. Get down, Miss Glenda. I love Miss Glenda. She is a wonderful supporter of the Inner Cheese Show. Yes, had to highlight that. So thank you so much for sharing that. And so along that, with cultivating the right social network and social groups and social environment, that is still with you today, kind of, if you had an opportunity to talk to a family right now that is currently contemplating and talking about the next level post secondary education with their family member, whether it's their own child, whether it's a niece, a nephew, a cousin, a neighbor, what would you say to that family to encourage them, to encourage that child to go to an HBCU? Would it be the instructors? Would it be the stellar curriculum and coursework? What would you say to?
I would encourage. Oh, I'm sorry. I would encourage them to do their research on schools, understand that what a HBCU is, how it is important to one's own identity, also the community influence behind it. And just to give a little extra tidbit, I was working at Ross right before I went and got my master's, and the district manager came in, and of course my manager was boosting about me. She was like, "Yeah, Kat's finna leave and go to college," and he asked like, "What school is she going to?" She told him that I was going to FAMU, and this man gave me his business card and said, "You need to call this person when you get there. Call me when you get there. If you need help with funding, let me know. I can get you in contact with this person. You're from Georgia, right? You're from Georgia. Make sure you fill out this paperwork." So it's not even in the door, and you're already receiving extra help. Is always there. You never know who you can run across. You never know who you meet on the street or in person, or your family knows, that is willing and able to help you. You never know. My high school step teacher, she's my godmother now. I mean, my elementary step teacher, she's my godmother now. She went to Clark Atlanta. She was the one who helped me with my FAFSA. My mother did not understand. My mother did not know how to complete a FAFSA form. And there were many nights where I had to, she was like, "Call your godmom, call her. She knows what she's doing. Get on the phone with her and let her talk you through this." Plenty of times when I needed help with maybe a calculus homework, my mom would say, "Call your mentee that works at the bank, mentor that works at the bank, and make sure you talk with her and understand so she can better help you out." Um, I had issues going to the school with my car breaking down almost on the highway trying to get home. My mom's telling me, "Well, is there anybody in Albany that you can stay with until I can get down there to the end of the week?" My friend Cambria Lewis, I ended up staying with her family for the whole entire summer. So it was a big influence and still is a big influence on my life. Yes, you're going to have times where you're going to have to stay up to almost 6 o'clock in the morning doing papers, and it's the night of homecoming and you really want to go to sleep so you can get up and enjoy it, but it's worth it in the end. It is worth it. Like I said, you never know you never know if your friend could be the next Supreme Court justice or the next prosecutor for the state or the next director for a museum or the next neurosurgeon. You never know. It's all part of the experience, but you're experiencing it with people who look like you, who have the same mindset as you. Yes, the culture and the lifestyle and the background where they came from might be different, but y'all all you have that influence of your people.
Oh my gosh. Sign me up. I'll go back to school. Okay, get this PhD from an HBCU. Sign me up. No, but listen, family, those of you who are tuning in, thank you for tuning to the InEarthgie show. We try to be as organic and authentic here. And thank you guys for just supporting us as we are on this HBCU campaign. We dare not take this campaign lightly. We are bringing knowledge. We are bringing true graduates, alums to the table to share their experience no matter what year they're graduating. They are absolutely in their career path and also striving for advanced education, next level, degrees because of the HBCU experience, whether they came from a family legacy of HBCU grads or they were encouraged and inspired from someone in their local community. Maybe it was a neighbor. In Miss Foster's case, it was an aunt, right, who didn't go to an HBCU, but clearly found that it was important for her niece to go. And so I often wonder if we just have more conversations, guys. We're getting ready to head into another holiday towards the end of this week. My gosh. And then we're getting ready to enter into 22. And you guys are gearing up for graduation season for the spring here. You guys are have some kids, some grandkids, some niece and nephews, some neighbors, or just some, friends who have kids. It doesn't matter. I often wonder if we had more of the conversation about going somewhere with people who look like us, who have some of the similar backgrounds, who are being taught by the best educators, the best leaders, who may be an attorney general, who may be the neurosurgeon that's coming to teach, who may be a chemist, who might be a mayor or what have you. It doesn't matter. I have not run across an HBCU grad who was not great in their career path. I just haven't. Business owners owning multiple franchises. To your point, doctors, lawyers, right? Dentists, politicians, political figures in the state and local government. The list goes on. And what I have found about those two is that they do come back often to the communities and they share the knowledge. That's most important because that lets me know that through their HBCU experience, they realize that this is something that they can't keep to themselves, that they've got to share it. They've got to share the good news and they've got to influence another young brother, another young sister. Now, as we shared a couple of weeks ago on our first interview, we also understand that, hey, you got to have butts and seats. What does that mean? You got to have a certain enrollment number in order to keep the doors open. I often wonder, too, how much of that conversation that we're having in our communities that as long as the enrollee count is up, the doors will stay open. Let's be honest, right? And the importance of pouring back into the school, the university after you graduate is also important. That's also important. So, guys, thank you again so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you so much, Miss Catiana Foster, for sharing with us your wonderful experience. Let's see if we've got some questions from our wonderful audience. I just love them so much for being faithful supporters. HBCU culture affects all aspects of family life. That's right. That's right, Miss Glenda. And so how has that affected your life? I mean, clearly your friends and family and those around, but are you having these conversations with some of your little cousins and nieces and nephews? And
So one of my nieces automatically, she does not have a choice. But she can go to any school that she wants in the world. Say auntie will pay for it. Auntie will assist to help pay for it. But you're going to HBCU.
oh, I love
You are going to HBCU. Um, I think the one thing that we don't talk about is the extra funding. As I mentioned earlier, there is a scholarship called the Gates Millennial. It was created by Bill Gates. No matter what school you go to, hopefully it's HBCU, it it provides funding all the way up until let's say you would like to get a PhD. It provides funding all the way up, but you have to be a freshman going into college. um, I did not have the opportunity to receive it, but I do know a few people who have, and they've went on to get their second PhD, and they did attend HBCUs. So sometimes it is a funding issue, but don't let that stop you, because there are scholarships locally. There are different like Masonic orders, organizations, clubs that will help you with funding. Um, I received a scholarship from my high school to help with some of my costs with my undergrad. So I don't want to discourage anyone from attending HBCU because of funding, because there is funding out there. There is money out there for us.
Right. I love that. And thank you for sharing that. There is money out there. All HBCUs are not broke. Let's be clear. So get that out your head. Let's debunk that myth right now. There is a lot of money that's out there. If it's money for us to get in cryptocurrency, if it's money out here for business owners, if it's money out here, grants, scholarships, for everything else, there are absolutely money out here for the HBCU colleges and universities who are absolutely educating our children, and building, building great individuals, building great leaders. There are many notable alumni that come from HBCUs. I mean, not only just entertainers, but again, to your point, public figures and, a lot of authors and just so many different people who we idolize today that we talk about in the history books, right? That are in the books at your museum, right? Who came from HBCUs. And so we want to encourage those who are contemplating it, allow it to be a conversation around the dinner table as you are celebrating the holidays coming up, whether it's Christmas, whether it's Kwanzaa, whether it's just preparing for the new year for 22. Allow that to be on your vision board. Maybe some of you guys need to start putting that on your vision board. Carry your babies to the vision boards too. Let me also encourage you to do that. Don't just go and get your cocktail, okay? Don't let listen. I've been to a few of them. Anyway, so folks, they come, with the cocktails and they have a good time and write their vision. Maybe some of that part of that needs to be putting an HBCU on there and you challenging yourself to have that conversation with a loved one. So Ms. Glenda has one last comment for us tonight. HBCU helps students graduate. Yes, they do, and encourage greatness. I absolutely know like I mentioned, every HBCU grad that I know stands with the utmost excellence in all that they do. And I'm telling you, HBCU proud to the bone. Most people have the wrong image of these schools and just think that they are partying all the time. And so we want to debunk that myth that HBCUs are teaching excellence, are absolutely educating. Again, I know more professionals who have come from HBCUs than anywhere else. And so we definitely dare not speak on any other institutions as though they don't provide that. They absolutely do. Again, I myself, have secondary education that did not come from an HBCU. And yet I think God did pretty good with me and still working through me. But I often wonder, had I had an HBCU experience, what that would have been like just a little bit, right? So
Mhm.
maybe we're doing this campaign because it's something that I feel like I'm missing. I don't know. So, but hey, I have babies, and I'm excited to have friends and family members who have graduated from HBCUs. Wonderful to have met individuals such as yourself, Miss Foster, and those alike, and those who are going to be coming on and sharing more of their experience, so that I can continue to encourage and enlighten my babies and those around me, those that I mentor in my local city, and also other states, to consider HBCU. Wherever you land is wherever you land. You're going to, be great wherever you go, but
Yes.
always, if you can, try to consider HBCU first. So talk about it, guys, around as you unwrapping them gifts. Okay, ask them babies as you then bought them that PS5 or whatever is on the market these days. I don't know. Ask them where are their top 5 schools that they are considering, and hopefully an HBCU is one of them. So, guys, thank you again so much for tuning in. We love you. We came to you in peace. We leave you in peace. Thank you, Ms. Foster, for gracing us with your presence. If you don't mind staying with us backstage for a little bit as we are ending our show. Thank you, guys. We love you so much. We'll see you next Tuesday.
She's sugary, she's spice. She is everything plus nice. Take her one-on-one class and she provides the best advice. She'll take you down to the trenches, but only to lead a new way. Only for the sake of you and your legacy to establish a new day. Let's give a warm welcome to the Chief Reprimander and the Supreme Hugger, G. Smith.